How do I get through this without crying? I don't think that's gonna happen, Meeko, but I will try. In my last video, I talked about my cat Meeko here having cancer. To summarize, Meeko vomited blood about 3 weeks ago, and after a biopsy, we found that he has high-grade localized lymphoma. If you want to know the full story, I'll link that video in the description below. Where we left off last time, we were about to meet with an oncologist to discuss treatment options for Meeko. Before I get too far into this, I want to say that it was not good news. But I'm going to talk about what they told me and where we're at now. I met with the oncologist on Monday, April 14th, and she told me that lymphoma is a fairly common type of cancer in cats and dogs. There are different types of lymphoma. It can be low grade, high grade, it can be localized, like what Meeko has, and my understanding of what that means is it's not in his lymph nodes. But the surgeon, when we talked about that, she said it's not in his lymph nodes yet. So I guess it will be at some point. She said that was surprising and to count it as a win. It's a small one, but I'll take any that I can get right now. Chemotherapy is an option for Meeko. There are 3 types we can do. There's CHOP, COP, and CCNU. The first one, CHOP, is 4 different drugs and also requires weekly visits to the vet for 5 months. I believe at some point that turns into every other week or so, but it's still a lot. The second one, COP, is less drugs and less visits, and CCNU is 1 pill given every 3 weeks or so, plus prednisolone. Prednisolone? Regardless, even with no chemo, Meeko will be on the prednisolone for the rest of his life. He already gets that twice a day. When choosing to do chemo, there will also be blood work and ultrasounds periodically. Chemo is risky. Cats can get side effects. Most commonly, from what I was told, is nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, but it can also cause hospitalization. There's just no way to know how a cat will react to chemo until you try it. With the type of cancer Meeko has, the oncologist thinks he has 4 to 7 months to live if we choose to do chemo. And 2 to 3 months max if we don't. Oh, come on. I'm crying on the internet. You gotta be kidding me. Before I even left the vet's office, we ruled out CHOP as a treatment plan because, as I've said before, Meeko's quality of life is the most important thing to me. He hates the carrier, he hates being in the car, and that factors into quality of life. Weekly visits to the vet? No way. Not this guy. Meeko has been sick and gone through multiple rounds of overnights at the ER over the last couple years for urinary blockages. Plus he had a dental extraction just back in November of last year, 2024. He's happy right now. His energy is good. Yeah, he's sleeping right this second. But he wants to leave this room. He wants to go out on the catio, and I want to let him. That could all change if we do chemo. He could be sick and miserable through it. I could have to continue keeping him confined in just this room. I might not be able to let him out on the catio. I want him to enjoy the life that he has left. Maybe this decision wouldn't be as hard if we were talking about a low-grade lymphoma instead of the high-grade that he has, or if he hadn't already gone through surgery. Maybe I would want to do chemo in that case. I walked out of that office thinking I was gonna do the lowest form of chemo for him, the CCNU. But when I got home and he was rolling on the floor and he seemed really happy, I felt like chemo was the wrong choice, and that it would be selfish of me to risk his health and happiness for only a few months of extra time, and that's not even guaranteed. This lymphoma that he has is aggressive, and no matter what way you look at it, this is the end. Come on. I'm sharing this because I think talking about it helps me a bit. I can organize my thoughts, weigh the pros and cons out loud. I really thought I would know what I would choose by now. I don't 100% know what I'm gonna do yet, and I'm not necessarily looking for advice. Obviously, if anyone has experienced this with their cat and wants to share, please feel free. But this decision will be based on what I think is the best course for his quality of life. He's dreaming. He's been dreaming a lot. I hope they're good dreams. We also went back in for Meeko's 2-week post-op check-in, which was Friday, April 18th. Since he was doing a pretty good job of eating on his own, they decided it was time to take the tube out. Now he just has a couple of staples in his neck where the tube was, and those will be removed in about a week. While I was there, I did get to talk to the surgeon who removed the mass from his stomach in person. I don't think I mentioned it in my last video, but there was some tissue left behind when they removed the mass because it being so close to his esophagus, it was too dangerous to fully remove. So could the mass regrow there? Maybe. Could one grow in a different place? Maybe. If it does regrow in that spot, the most likely scenario is it would eventually block the path between his esophagus and his stomach. And I was told an indicator of that would probably be him vomiting again. I also asked her how big the mass was, and she held up her hand like this, like maybe golf ball size, maybe a little bigger. It was big, and no doubt he feels better having that out of him at the very least. At least I really hope so. If we had known, if there was another way to know the exact type of lymphoma that Meeko has before all of this, we probably wouldn't have even done surgery because they would have already known he only has a few months to live. That's obviously not what you want to hear after a very expensive procedure. The surgeon said she did ask another doctor about doing an endoscopic biopsy, and I can't remember the exact reason why, but they said they couldn't. There was some reason why they couldn't. So the only way to know was to do the mass removal and while they were in there, do the biopsy. But she does think that removing it bought us some time. Who knows how much time that is? The surgeon said this specific type of lymphoma is rare in cats, at least in her experience. He's the first cat that she's seen it in. Meeko is 11 years old, not nearly as old as I thought he would live to be. My dog Rosco passed away back in 2022. He was 14 years old, and the vet at that time thought he probably also had cancer, but his health had deteriorated so much so quickly, he couldn't even walk in the end. Losing Rosco was so different. It was so clear that it was his time. It doesn't make it hurt any less. But I look at Meeko, who seems to be getting better, if anything, after his surgery, and I just cannot believe that he will be gone in only a few months. I really feel like I'm being robbed of time with him, and I felt the same way about Rosco. I moved to California with Rosco and Meeko. I loaded up everything I could fit in that little truck I had at the time, plus those two, and drove across the country from New York to California in 3 days. Thinking back on it now, I'm sure that trip is the reason why Meeko hates the carrier. That was 10 years ago. I worked and saved over the years and bought this house for me, but for them. And because I wanted to foster a lot. Every small apartment we lived in was never an issue for them. So many decisions I have made over the years, I have done so with those two at the forefront of my mind. I'm so grateful to have gotten to move into this house with both of them, but it breaks my heart that I'll have lost them both in this house. Again, I don't 100% know yet what we're gonna do. I have a few more days to think about it. My boyfriend told me to make the decision that I would regret the least. I think that's the best piece of advice I've gotten, and every time I go back and forth about it in my head, I go back to what he said. I know that if we do chemo and he reacts badly to it, I will regret it. I wish he could tell me what he wants me to do. I tried. I asked. He just purred.